could just quote from one of my colleagues, Lionel Laurent. He says immunisation campaigns are glaringly unequal right now. The wealthiest 27 places in the world account for 10.5% of the population, but 35.6% of vaccinations that have taken place. If we change the rules around IP protection for COVID-19 vaccines, does that get us any way to fixing that imbalance?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning. Wouldn't it be great if you could do something as simple as that and increase production suddenly from where we are today, 1.4 million, to the 14 billion that we need? Sorry, 1.4 billion to 40 million. That's not as simple as that. The issue today is manufacturing. That's the real bottleneck. The issue today is finding those manufacturing sites. We've already partnered our companies with about 276 manufacturing sites all over the world, including in developing countries, but we need more. And the problem is these manufacturing sites were not set up to produce the kind of vaccines that we're talking about here. So you need a technology transfer from the vaccine company to those. You need training, and then you need to make sure that they have the raw materials in order to ramp up production. So in 5 months, I think we've done incredibly well, but we're not there yet. And let's not forget that we have about a handful of vaccines approved today, but there are still about 20 still in the final phases of testing. So we hope that new vaccines come on board and that we'll be able to ramp up the production of those as well. All the eyes are on the current ones that are available. We're scrambling and doing everything that we possibly can to be able to ramp up that manufacturing, but the bottleneck is not IP. It's really the manufacturing capacity and the technology transfer and the know-how around the world.
Good morning, Nathalie. I understand it's a more complicated issue. Obviously, everyone's kind of very much focused on this. But we've got a world where many people are very, very concerned about the idea that, you know, new variants can be created in places where we have unchecked kind of virus breakouts. And in that context, I understand it's not as simple as just, you know, removing the blocks or removing the protection for vaccine IPs. But how would it not help? Can you explain kind of in a very simple line why this wouldn't help the situation at the margin?
So today, if you were to do that, for example, if you were to, apart from the fact that, and you may have read the Moderna CEO saying there are no manufacturing sites ready to manufacture our mRNA vaccine, we have to find, we have to recruit, we have to train, we have to upscale and improve all the manufacturing sites that the companies have been working with. We're not ready from the word go. So it's not an immediate thing anyway. Today we do licenses, voluntary licenses between our companies and those manufacturing companies, and we're looking for more, and we're increasing the capacity for more. The issue would be if you would remove the IP that anybody could potentially copy if they had the technology and the know-how, but you wouldn't have a capacity to check where that production is happening. You'd have also a diversion of the raw materials. There are about 100 to 200 components in many of these vaccines. And those components at the moment are rare because we're trying to ramp up their production. If you suddenly have a diversion towards other manufacturing sites that maybe are less efficient, less productive, maybe the quality is less good, maybe you suddenly have counterfeits, you're also diverting from the current successful production of vaccines to less control. So I think we have a real urgency of getting jabs in arms today. We have some excess doses in many countries. I would say start with that, redistribute that properly, make sure the COVAX manufacturing task force that is trying to improve the manufacturing capacities of developing countries is doing its best, and then work in partnership really with those voluntary licenses.
I'm sure these conversations have been had in Washington, Nathalie. So what do you think is prompting the US to take the stance that it is, and indeed Ursula von der Leyen and the European Commission to take the stance that it is taking? Do you think this is actually a move designed to hold pharmaceutical companies' feet to the fire, to just try and speed things up in some way, to get manufacturing facilities up and running more quickly? Is this about trying to push your members to strike more partnerships? Can this move things along? Can this just add speed to the process that you describe?
I think what's interesting to see is that it's in our interest to ramp up production and to be as quick as we can. There's nobody who needs to hold our feet to the call. Our feet are there, and our heads and our whole bodies trying for the last 14, 15 months to find the vaccine, to produce it. It's in our interest as well. It's in everybody's interest. So there is no need for extra political pressure. As many deals as are being done as possible, but as I said before, they need to be deals where we're sure that the manufacturing companies are able to do it to the quality and safety standards that we need. What I heard the President of the Commission saying yesterday was that she was ready to consider anything that would improve the increase of manufacturing. She also mentioned yesterday and today that the EU has donated as many doses as it's given to its population. So that's very impressive. And again, I'm sorry to go back on this, but I think other parts of the world need to do the same. They need to look at what stocks they have, what excess they have, and they need to share that as quickly as possible.